we tend to migrate to these dishes when old man winter is being an old man. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at how we approach a way of making beef stew that doesn't involve overcooking it in a crock pot. We're talking about a Cabby Beef Stew or cabernet sauvignon beef stew. So if you're interested, the recipe's at kcknh.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Now, in professional kitchens, we tend to need to make a big batch of soups and stews so we can get through a service. We're not doing crock pot, folks. That's not the point of this video. And with fresh vegetables, fresh meats, the spices, and some wine, we're going to make a beautiful Cabby beef stew that's not going to be overcooked, stringy floss of beef. I can't handle the crock pot, guys. It's just nasty. Let's show you how we do this from home, but it's the same principle I use when I'm in a professional kitchen. So the nice part about this, you can get all of the ingredients. It's not exotic. It's not requiring a second language. We're keeping the basics of the best vegetables possible. But we want to be mindful that some vegetables require a sizable dice compared to others. I say that because we want to be mindful of our knife cuts. So with celery, we know it's going to handle the soup base pretty well. So we're doing a small dice on the celery. With zucchini, there's more fluid in it, so there's a higher risk of overcooking. So that's why we're going to do a quarter dice on our zucchini. And we're using fresh ingredients, folks. This is the best way to make a hearty beef stew. Now, you'll see through the course of these videos, some of these are going to show a lot more vegetables. That's really a double. I wrote the recipe as a single, but I was actually doing an extra prep. So everything you'll see here for most of the vegetables and the beef, I actually was doing some bulk prep. That way we can do another beef stew ahead of time in the future. I actually froze some of the vegetables, some of the prep beef. It was a great time saver, especially when I'm coming home and I'm working to try to get a dinner going after working a 10-12 hour shift. So consistency in the knife cuts, potatoes need to be the same size as best as possible. Now I'm just separating this so you can ignore the extra. But as you can see, we're doing a classic beef stew with fresh ingredients. So it's important to have your mise en place done ahead of time for everything that you do. Not just cooking, guys. Mise en place works in everything you do. See, as you can see here, I reminded myself. So I have a bowl that's collecting all of the vegetables. Now you will notice I did not peel my potatoes and my carrots. Guys, clean the vegetables, but keep the skin. There's a lot of vitamins to be had, and it's also a natural thickener. It's definitely a good thing that you want to have when you're working with certain soups and stews. It's definitely beneficial. Now again, with knife cuts, we know carrots, you can take someone out. They're hard as a rock. So we're going to do a quarter cut. We might be a little bit thinner on the slicing on those. Now with onion, you could do a small dice, rough dice. It doesn't have to be precise. I mean, onions we're okay with cooking down. It adds the natural sweetness to any soup or stew. It's really awesome when you're working with onions. And use whatever onion you have. It doesn't have to be a Vidalia or a white or a red. Now, there is a controversy with people about fresh garlic versus jarred garlic. I'm going to tell you right now, that jarred garlic crap is going to taste garbagey. That's a word, garbagey. You're using wine in this, guys, so if you're going to work with anything that's chemical-based, alcohol and jarred garlic taste nasty. So this is one recipe I can certainly say if you want to ruin it, jarred garlic is going to ruin it. We're not being very precise on the garlic cut as it is. We're just going to be cutting it down small enough. If you have one of those garlic mashes, that's perfect. But for me, I have this therapeutic approach that I enjoy when it comes to chopping down my garlic. I love the aroma of it. So if you want to achieve the recipe results that I've created, follow it to a T, guys. Fresh garlic is what you want to do, not the jarred crap. It's going to ruin the flavor, and I don't want you to do that. So when it comes to cleaning your own meats, sometimes it can be a bit arduous. It's not that hard to do if you just take your time. You'd have to have a nice, good, sharp knife to work with. The key with this chuck, you're going to run into silver skin, you're going to run into some hard cartilage and fat. So you want to be able to do your best to trim that garbage away. I actually repurpose that stuff. I don't waste anything. One of the great things that you can do with it, you can render it down slowly in like a low, a medium level of heat. Little bit of olive oil and let it cook down. You can get some beautiful, beautiful beef tallow-like notes. But you don't want it on your beef. If there's anything I can't stand, it's not just overcooked beef from a freaking crock pot. It's going to be the stringiness of silver skin getting stuck in your teeth. That's gnarly. So do your best. Like here, we're gently removing all those remnants that we don't want. And ultimately, we're going to do some slightly larger than normal beef tip cuts, because we're doing this for a beef stew. We don't want them too big. We don't want them too small. I'm usually aiming for like 1 inch, give or take, one, maybe even 2, depending upon how much beef I'm working with. I actually bought, this was just shy over 2 pounds. So by the time I cleaned it, I had 2 pounds of beef, and I could split it in half because, again, I'm actually making the meal itself, and I prepped another meal for a future night. So here we are, we're at that stage where we can break everything down. We want some marbling in the meat. That's going to help retain moisture. It's going to give a lot of beautiful mouthfeel and flavor to the beef. And it's going to make that stew beautiful. That's the best part. So here you can disregard all that extra beef. That's a future meal we plan on making. I'm actually thinking about making another one very soon. We just had a snowstorm. Got to take the chill out of us. And as you can see, this nice sharp knife, I can just blow right through this, even with the video sped up. Now we're going to go to the next phase where everything is prepped and head over to the stove where we're working with medium heat, and we got a little bit of olive oil in there. We're going to start working on sauteing the vegetables, but we're not going to cook them all the way, guys. Ultimately, we've got to get these into a stew base. So we're going to start the cooking process by hitting this with some heat, a little bit of salt, white pepper, and I use herb de Provence for this because I find it enhances the beauty of this beef stew, especially when you hit it with the wine. It's going to be amazing, guys. So we're just gently applying just enough spice to see it. We're going to toss to coat this for a little bit, not long. And the key important element, you're going to start seeing changes in the vegetables. The onions are going to start losing that bright white color. It's going to gradually come down into a dull white, almost beige. That's going to be a great indicator of when we're going to start working on the next item. Because we're going to do this kind of like Korean style. You'll cook this item, take it out of the pan. Cook the next item, take it out of the pan. It's so we can make sure nothing is overcooked and we don't want rubbery meat. That's not going to happen with this. If you're good with your time temperature management, you're going to pull this off beautifully. So we've cooked the vegetables about halfway. We got them out of the pan. We're not worrying about cleaning the pan. We're going to hit it with the beef, and we're going to re-season. Same thing, we flavor as we go. And you can see right away, this is already taking some beautiful color. We're not going to overcook this, guys. Only after about a couple of minutes, we're going to hit it with the garlic. We want to make sure that garlic does not overcook. That's why we're doing a staged approach with this. Now, tomato paste. Put the whole 6-ounce can in there. Truth be told, this is a necessary ingredient. I cannot enjoy a beef stew unless it's got that nice hint of tomato in it. So we've got that in there. We're going to toss to coat. I want to get this up to temp. That's really what this is all about. We're building and staging everything as we go. So we're going to get the meat all well and coated. And eventually we're going to hit it with some flour. That's going to be helping you with your quote-unquote roux. It's just a thickening agent at this point. There was already some olive oil in the pan. And right here, as you can see, look how well that's coated. We're going to take a moment to add that wine. And as soon as you start working with that wine and mixing it in, you're going to immediately start to see this thicken, like really fast, between the flour and the tomato paste. So it's very important that we're going to work a little faster now as we bring everything together. We're going to add the par-cooked vegetables in, and we're going to mix this well. The rest of the fluids from the vegetables are actually going to help you very much here. So we'll bring this together also with the beef stock. I use homemade beef stock, guys. Don't ask if you can use boxed or any of that beef, whatever you call it, the bouillon cubes. I don't work with it, so I can't tell you how it's going to come out. I use fresh house-made beef stock, so I can only account for the way I wrote this. Now, I started with about a quart's worth, and I have to taste test this to see if I have to make any more adjustments. It's very important to do that, guys, because as you go, you may need a little more seasoning. So I'm just taste testing the beef to see if it's at that consistency I'm looking for. It was still rare when I took a bite out of it, so I know I can add more spices and just mix that in together. And we've got a nice regular boil on this. We don't want it going too crazy, but I am going to see this gradually change to a slightly thickened base. I don't want it thick like a bechamel type consistency. I do want a nice body feel. Look how beautiful. This is just beautiful. And eventually we're going to reduce this to simmer. And you are going to taste test a couple of vegetables, guys, just to make sure that they have been cooked through. And at this point, we've got that nice, gentle, velvety look to it. Oh, I gotta make another batch. This was so good. My husband had a whole quart when I made it that night. That man inhaled this stuff thusly. And look at this. Now, we gotta take a look at how it looks in the bowl, of course. And this is just something that is so easy and simple to do. You don't need to kill your beef. Put the crock pot away, guys. Learn to do this on the fly. Look how incredible this comes through. And with some fresh bread, I need a private moment. If you want that private moment, guys, go and grab the recipe. Happy cooking.